lot of leaders have always gone after education immediately. When Mussolini came into power in 1922, his first two things that he did, and this is anybody who still thinks he used to be a leftist like many years before he was a fascist. He privatized major industries in 1923 to please the conservative elites. Two, he reformed the education system. That was the first major thing he did. And we see this, why do you think Ron DeSantis, who's like, I call him the Florida fascist, is concentrating so much on education? It's because, this is why I'm talking about how we have to think about solving the crisis of democracy, not only now, but with an eye to making it appealing for people in the future. Because what the attacks on education are doing, and the banning of books, et cetera, around the world, are creating the conditions for new generations to want authoritarian and illiberal models of leadership and be attracted to those things. And also, in the very horrible case of America, the whole idea that the rationale for not teaching about slavery and the history of racial discrimination, numerous US states have these resolutions that says they don't want to teach anything that's going to cause people, quote, emotional distress. That emotional distress is your conscience. And so education is not just about creating silences, which is what I was talking about before, but it's about retraining your emotions. And there's a very concerted attempt to get people to lose their conscience, to not feel compassion for others, to feel that there's a rationale for persecution. So education is at the center of everything. And that's why it's one of the first signs that it's one of the first things to be targeted. So that's one thing. Where the intellectuals, I think that, as we know, there's a lot of conformism. It's also, I'm very privileged because I'm at a private university. My salary is not paid by public funds, and I'm tenured. We're going to see tenure taken away to make people vulnerable, because that's how regimes work. You find levers to pressure people. And so there's many people who are discouraged from speaking out in various professional/political ways. Also, there's now many more deterrents for people. I myself am on this professor watch list, which is growing very rapidly. It's funded by the Koch billionaires, and it's part of campus reform. And their reform is, of course, they'd like to get rid of all, liberals and progressives. And they make a page for you if you piss them off. And at the bottom, the key, and they document it with you doing this or that. The bottom, they have a number, and the phone number is for people to call and try and get you fired. And so I think that, and also the threat of lawsuits, the threat of doxing, and today's autocrats use, the lawsuits and things to exhaust people financially and psychologically. And I think that many academics probably think it's not worth it to speak out. And that's what autocrats always want you to feel. And I think there are many ways to resist. And I would hope that there are more things going on behind the scenes than signing petitions, but where are they? I'm not sure, but I can just talk about all the probable reasons that we're not seeing more of this. It's not for everyone. You get death threats, you get hate mail. Not everyone may have that temperament to want to expose themselves to that. And the last thing I'll say, which is actually really important, the academy does not value, there's a lot of noise about public humanities, but the academy does not value the kind of work that I'm doing, for example. It's not rewarded, at your institution. It's not even encouraged. And so that's another reason that many people don't want to do it, I think.
No, I think that's a fabulous answer, and I think we don't want to underestimate the conditions that have been created in the last since the 1980s, actually, in which we're not just talking about the courage to simply speak to particular issues, but the conditions that really bear down on academics that make it very difficult. When 70% of academics in the United States are casualized, and have
Well, and it's very easy to be thought of as like I put aside my academic book, and I did a trade book, and I'm on TV a lot because I see TV as a superb form of civic education. You reach a lot of people efficiently, and you teach them. And I get letters from people, emails saying, you know, you've taught me what autocratic capture is or what propaganda does. But academics and academic institutions perhaps see that as extraneous or not serious, not rigorous. And so many people perhaps are dissuaded.
Yeah, I mean, when I was at Boston University, John Silber fired me and prevented me from getting tenure precisely because of that issue.